Okay, so now I'm going to move on and talk about how we start to do Lewis structure for the simple covalent compounds. Okay, and so the first thing to talk about is the Duet Rule, which is only for hydrogen. And the reason why the Duet Rule, so as you imagine, 2 electrons, right? Hydrogen can only take 2 electrons because if you notice where it's at here on the 1s level, the 1s level can only take 2 electrons before it reaches that helium noble gas configuration. So hydrogen is one of the exceptions to the octet rule. We're going to see a lot of exceptions. It's chemistry, right? It's the science of exceptions, okay? So, but if I back up for just 1 second here, we notice hydrogen, 1 valence electron, so 1 dot, okay? And so now if I want to make H2, right, that's molecular, the molecule hydrogen, okay? Then what we do here is when we have 2 dots, okay, 2 electrons or 1 electron pair makes a chemical bond. Okay? And those make a chemical bond because they will orient themselves in that spin up, spin down configuration, which 2 electrons spin up and spin down makes a magnet. It actually makes these things stick together via the electromagnetic force. Okay? So when we have these 2 hydrogen atoms, each with 1 electron, and they combine those 2 electron pairs, those 2 electrons making 1 pair, will form a chemical bond. All right? So now what about the octet rule? So that's basically everything else. Most of the time, we're going to see exceptions to the octet rule. Okay? But so now if I look at fluorine, for example, we can see that fluorine has 7 valence electrons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Remember, we skip over this D block. Okay? So each fluorine is 2s2, 2p5. That's its valence shell. Okay? And so now when I have these fluorines, each one of them, okay, having 7, and I pair this up with another fluorine, once again, 2 electrons pair up to make a chemical bond, okay? And we draw this fluorine as one F bonded to another F, but we can't forget about these other surrounding electrons, okay? We have to draw those around the atoms to get the Lewis structure correct, and we call those lone pairs, okay? And those are really important to chemistry, as we shall see. We notice here that hydrogen doesn't have any lone pairs. And hydrogen doesn't have any lone pairs because it can only take 2 electrons, all right? So this octet rule, what it's really getting at is now each atom in our new molecule should have 8 electrons surrounding it. So let's check that out. So if I pick on this fluorine atom right here, okay, it has 2, 4, 6, and then the 2 in the bond make it 8. So this fluorine is surrounded by 8 electrons. Okay, well, what about this fluorine? It has 2, 4, 6, and also 8 because we remember that these electrons are being shared. And because now fluorine, right, each atom is the same, right? This fluorine atom is the same as this fluorine atom. They're being shared equally. So this makes this a covalent bond, okay? Now, if we were to change one of those atoms, right? So a fluorine bonded to a different atom, they're no longer going to be shared equally, okay? And that's what we're going to explore next.